All right, folks, get ready. After a long break, the masterpiece Dandadan is finally back. We're continuing the journey of our dynamic duo, Ayase and Okarun. Before we dive into the video, please take a moment to like and subscribe to support Anime Rush 79. And now the story begins. Episode 1. Picking up right where we left off at the hot springs, Ayase is under attack by a pervy old folks gang. Ayase fights back using her superpowers, but one guy quickly grabs her arm. Suddenly, some kind of power burst out, saving her. In the chaos, Ayase makes a quick escape, but an old man manages to grab her leg. Just when she thought she was totally screwed, the whole house collapses, saving Ayase's life. That's when she realizes the hot spring view is actually pretty nice, but then she hears a familiar voice echoing around. It's Turbo Granny. The old lady says the house collapsing was her good luck charm at work, teehee. Ayase wonders why the old lady's there. Turns out Granny overheard Seiko talking about Jiji's house being near the hot springs, got excited and stowed away in Ayase's backpack. Meanwhile, the pervy old men who were flattened by the house start crawling out. The Commerce and Industry Group quickly arrives on the scene, scaring those guys so much they run for their lives. Seeing this, Ayase yells for them to arrest those delinquents and throw them in jail. But Turbo Granny doesn't care. She's too busy enjoying the hot springs. Thanks to the cat's good luck from earlier, Ayase was saved. She thanks Granny and takes the opportunity to ask about Jiji's house, as Ayase hadn't found anything. Turbo Granny says that house is done for because it's soaked in too much blood. At Jiji's house, our two guys find a creepy room full of charms and talismans. Jiji's terrified, wondering why this stuff has been here all this time without him knowing. Okarun, of course, has no clue either. It's Jiji's house, not his. But Okarun says they should wait for Ayase to get back before doing anything. It's too dangerous to just go in. Just then, Jiji's doorbell rings. Thinking Ayase is back, he rushes out nervously. He's about to say something when he's greeted by a bunch of incredibly creepy old women. The old women have set up a blockade, leaving the two guys helpless. The lead old lady looks over and tells Jiji, "Come bite some cake." Jiji politely thanks her but doesn't join the fun. The old woman claims that thanks to her, Jiji gets free rent. Not to mention his sick parents. Without them, Jiji would have been screwed a long time ago. Okarun senses something is off and asks Jiji what's going on, but Jiji confirms what the old women are saying is true. Okarun is shocked, realizing they just smashed the walls into pieces. The atmosphere suddenly gets tense when the old woman asks Jiji where he's been for the past few days without permission. Jiji quickly says he was just picking up a friend to come over. That should be fine, right? The old woman thinks otherwise, subtly implying Jiji is planning to bring a bunch of mediums here, isn't he? Hearing this, her cronies chime in, scolding Jiji mercilessly, saying there's no such thing as ghosts and telling him not to be so foolish. Jiji quickly explains, "Calm down, ladies," and pulls Okarun forward, saying, "Look at my friend's dumb face. He's clearly not a medium." The big boss lady pulls out a stun gun to intimidate the two young men. Jiji, being cheeky, says, "Come on, ma'am, you need a license for that. If you stun someone, the cops will lock you up." Just as things are getting intense, a police officer opens the door and walks in, but behind him are those thugs who attacked Ayase earlier. They were caught by the Commerce and Industry Group, but luckily the cop helped them escape. Plus, the hot spring spot was trashed, so those jerks figured they needed to find a new location. The old cop seems to be in league with them. One old man throws an arm around Jiji and asks, "Where have you been, kid, these past few days?" Jiji still insists he was just with a friend. The man tells him not to lie, as they hate that. He turns and asks, "Who's this Four Eyes?" Jiji tells the old man he's his best friend. Hearing that, the man says, "If he's your best friend, do you know what soccer team Jiji likes?" "Oh, crap. They just met. How would he know a damn thing?" Big trouble now. Jiji's sweating bullets, and Okarun is too, as their eyes stare at them like daggers. But Okarun gives the answer, Saint-Germain. Luckily, it's correct. Jiji is surprised too. He has no idea how Okarun knew. Turns out Okarun saw the giant poster plastered on the wall. The two of them barely escape danger when the old woman speaks up again. She asks, "There's another girl, right? When's she coming back?" You'd think Jiji would spill the beans, but he lies, saying, "What girl? I don't know any girl." And that's his fatal mistake. Okarun just saved their butts, and now this guy screws up again. They've been watching for a long time. If he had just said she went to the hot springs and would be back soon, it wouldn't have been exposed. But Jiji's words made the old women realize he was lying to them. Meanwhile, Ayase is on her way to the Tsuchinoko shrine. When she gets there, she suddenly sees a guy doing a handstand while filming a TikTok. Ayase, despite finding it super weird, approaches to say hello. Sure enough, the guy confirms it's indeed the Tsuchinoko shrine and invites Ayase inside. She thinks, "Wow, that was easy. He just invited me in. That thing should be valuable, right?" But it turns out to be just a tiny pile of snakeskin, not some dragon. The guy tells Ayase that according to legend, this region is famous for its snake worship. People believe that when a python living in the volcano gets hungry, it causes the volcano to erupt. To prevent this, they need to sacrifice a child from the village to appease the python's hunger. Thanks to this, the volcano hasn't erupted for 200 years, and they even got the bonus of hot springs, and that thing there is just a piece of shed python skin. Ayase is disappointed. So what about the Tsuchinoko then? The guy says it's just a rumor spread to attract tourists. Turns out it's all a scam. Poor Ayase. Extremely disappointed, Ayase trudges home. She thinks Okarun will be so sad when he finds out that Tsuchinoko is a scam, and she wonders if the two guys have become friends yet. But when Ayase opens the door and steps in, oh boy, what a sight. After Jiji's dumb lie, it looks like the two guys got beaten to a pulp by this disgusting gang. Ayase is stunned to see the two guys lying motionless. The old men quickly attack, but Ayase counterattacks repeatedly, kicking one of those thugs right in the face. Then she uses her power to grab the other guy's head and knee him. Seeing their buddies getting beaten, other guys rush forward. Ayase uses her power to attack and kicks one guy in the nuts, but an old man manages to grab her. He headbutts her, dazing Ayase. Just when things are critical, luckily Turbo Granny appears, making the old man step on a bottle, slip, and fall. Granny is furious. I was having a nice nap. Seeing that the thugs aren't getting anywhere, the old women also join the fight. Ayase tells them, "Don't come any closer and get out of this house now." Suddenly, the lead old woman, quick as lightning, kicks Ayase, sending her tumbling. She looks fat and old, but is incredibly strong. She then attacks relentlessly, making it hard for Ayase to defend herself. Finally, she lands a finishing blow that sends Ayase flying, smashing through a wall. The thugs behind them cheer, "Mom's amazing! She truly is the head of the Keto family." Ayase asks, "Who are you guys, and what is this creepy room?" The old women are quite surprised to see Turbo Granny talking in her cat form. But she also wonders who these kids are. They don't seem like real mediums. However, she believes that these kids, by obstructing the ritual, are trying to destroy the village. "And we, the Keto family, will protect the village to the very end." "Hey, don't be ridiculous," Ayase says. "You guys broke into this house first. Get out of here now." The old woman acts like she doesn't care. She claims that thanks to the Keto family consistently offering sacrifices, the volcano hasn't erupted for 200 years, which led to the hot springs and the village's prosperity. At this point, Ayase remembers the legend she heard at the shrine. She realizes they're probably about to be sacrificed. And sure enough, the old woman tells them that while things have changed over time, this house is precisely where the altar is located. The Keto family has been using it to lure unsuspecting victims to live here and then sacrifice them. And today, we conveniently have all three sacrifices. Ayase is slowly sinking downwards, terrified. Ayase quickly uses her superpowers to grab the wall and pull herself out of the sand, but the old women immediately attack, pushing Ayase back down. It looks like it's going to be hard for Ayase to escape. She's sinking deeper and deeper, so Ayase begs Turbo Granny to do something, but Granny seems helpless in this situation. Just then, Okarun and Jiji wake up, use chairs to push the Keto family members into the sand, and then try to pull Ayase up. Just when it seemed like they were about to turn the tables, the entire floor collapses, and everyone, including the Keto family thugs, falls into a pit. After calming down, Ayase and Okarun are terrified, realizing there's a place like this beneath the house. "We fell down here. How are we ever going to get back up? Oh my god." But the two forget that Mr. Jiji has fallen somewhere. Jiji tries to call for help, but by the time Ayase realizes and uses her superpower, he's already fallen deeper down. Luckily, he hit something soft, otherwise he'd be totally smashed. But in good luck comes bad luck. He's accidentally woken up a giant monster. Seeing this, the Keto family members appear like superheroes, striking cool poses to welcome Lord Python, even calling themselves his messengers. They tell the monster that the three kids are the sacrifices they're offering, begging Lord Python not to eat the wrong people. At this point, Granny pops up and says that worm is Kuragari. Okarun remembers it's the giant Mongolian death worm he read about in a book. It lives in the Gobi Desert and swallows people whole for fun. But normally they're only 2 meters long. This one is huge. Ayase is also surprised, wondering if the Keto family has been sacrificing to it for 200 years, making it grow so big. Meanwhile, those thugs are jumping around, screaming and howling as if performing a ritual, making a huge racket. The result? The worm takes care of the whole bunch of them, serves them right for being so dumb. Ayase's group hasn't been touched yet, but that doesn't mean they're safe, so all three run into some house to hide. But once inside the house, Ayase and Okarun suddenly feel something affecting them, causing both of them pain. Then Okarun can't control his powers and attacks Jiji. How will our trio of troublemakers escape this dangerous situation? Tune in for episode 2 with Anime Rush 79.
Okarun was writhing in agony, with Jiji and Ayase struggling to hold him down. During their desperate struggle, Jiji accidentally flung Okarun, sending furniture crashing and glass shattering everywhere. This ear-splitting noise inadvertently awakened a gigantic earthworm, which immediately lunged to attack. Jiji swiftly hoisted his two friends and dodged its lethal bite. He quickly realized the monster was incredibly sensitive to sounds from objects, but seemed to ignore their voices. In that critical moment, Okaran unexpectedly grabbed a pair of scissors, intending to end his life. Jiji frantically intervened. Bewildered by Okaran's sudden, desperate impulse, Okaran thrashed, pleading for death, a scene that sent shivers down Jiji's spine as he recalled his own parents' past attempts to give up everything. Luckily, Jiji had arrived home just in time that day, or his whole family might have been lost. While Jiji wrestled with Okaran, Yase, on the other side of the room, also went into a frenzy, snatching a sharp piece of glass. Fortunately, Turbo Grandma managed to shield Yase just in time. Jiji sighed in relief, quickly asking if Turbo Grandma was okay. Turbo Grandma, in pain, urged Jiji to quickly tie up that 4 eyes and then the girl too. Jiji followed Turbo Grandma's instructions, and for the moment, the situation was under control. Jiji remained puzzled about the root cause of all this chaos. Grandma Turbo explained that it was due to the psycho-spiritual waves emitted by the earthworm, which amplified the self-destructive urges in anyone within the house. Jiji had an epiphany, realizing this was exactly what had driven his parents to their desperate thoughts. But why wasn't he affected? Grandma Turbo looked surprised, asking Jiji why he hadn't figured it out yet. Before she could finish, Yase used her supernatural powers to blast Jiji away, injuring his eyes and hands with shattered glass. The loud noise instantly drew the earthworm's attention. Yase continued to manipulate the glass shards, seizing control of Grandma Turbo. In a dire predicament, Jiji only managed to dive in and shield Yase, then clutched Okaran and Yase. With Turbo Grandma clamped in his mouth, he struggled to escape, successfully evading the earthworm's terrifying lunge. Jiji, like an ox, despite his injuries and carrying 2 friends, still ran at full speed. Even when he stumbled and fell, Jiji remained unfazed. While running for dear life, Jiji suddenly tripped and tumbled down the stairs, prompting Yase and Okaran to once again seek their demise. Jiji was exhausted and aching all over, but he kept telling himself, "Come on, me, you got this." He then quickly rushed to rescue his 2 troublemakers. But at this point, the earthworm was looming directly in front of them. How could he possibly save anyone now? Suddenly, an evil spirit appeared out of nowhere. Surrounded by dense, malevolent auras of resentment, Jiji immediately recognized it as the very thing that had plagued his sleep and appetite for so long. What's more, with the evil spirit's arrival, Okaran and Yase were no longer under its influence. Both quickly begged Jiji to untie them. The evil spirit turned to face them, and everyone gasped in horror at its grotesque form. However, Grandma Turbo quickly warned them not to look into its eyes. That entity was the evil eye, and its malevolent gaze could drive people insane, leading to suicide. Its power seems strangely similar to the earthworm's psycho-spiritual waves. Because of this, the evil eye and the earthworm were canceling each other out, leaving the earthworm motionless. Okaran immediately switched to badass mode, blasting off like a rocket and effortlessly kicking off the earthworm's head. Before they could even celebrate, the earthworm instantly grew a new head and swiftly attacked Jiji and Yase. That's cheating. What can we do now? They thought. As for Okaran, after his flashy move, he had completely vanished. The evil eye fled with Jiji. It seemed to bear no ill will, making Jiji realize he'd been wrong all along to think it was the cause of his parents' illness. Suddenly, it used its eyes to hypnotize Jiji. At that moment, a bygone scene emerged, a peaceful village with a young boy imprisoned. He strained to look out through a narrow window, seeing his friends playing joyfully. But the boy was confined within the locked house. His life had been condemned by the Keto family to be sacrificed to the serpent god. On the day the volcano erupted, the boy was tied to a pole, and the Keto family began the ritual of sacrificing him to the serpent. Molten lava slowly advanced, consuming everything. In his utter despair, the boy only wished he could play like his friends, if only for a single time. The volcano erupted, leaving behind only charred remnants and circling crows. The boy's immense resentment prevented his soul from moving on. Right at the sacrificial altar, the Keto family built another house to continue luring new victims. The boy's spirit watched as family after family moved in, but they all ended their own lives, leaving behind their children. The scene shifted to a new family. The children could see the boy, but their parents couldn't. It seemed the boy wanted to play with the kids. He mimicked dances he'd seen before. Time passed, and after their parents successively died, the Keto family members reappeared. The boy recognized the woman who had sacrificed him earlier. No, it must have been a descendant, as it was 200 years ago. Another thing was that the boy also sensed something hidden beneath the house. It was highly likely that the families had died because the earthworm emitted psycho-spiritual waves, causing them to lose control. And then, the next child was sacrificed. As for the other boy, Being merely a spirit, he couldn't save his friend who was tied up. Over time, accumulated resentments grew, and that spirit transformed into an evil entity, the Evil Eye. Back in reality, Jiji was being held tightly by the Evil Eye, and even Ayase couldn't pull him away. But Jiji insisted this evil spirit wasn't bad. With that, Jiji ran straight downstairs. Ayase chased after him and realized that the houses became progressively older the deeper they went. It turned out the Kido family had been building up the ground layer by layer after each sacrifice, then constructing a new house. For hundreds of years, Jiji quickly reached the very first place, the simple house where the boy had been imprisoned. Jiji wished to free him from his shackles. When the door opened, inside the room lay a charred skeleton. Ayase was utterly terrified by the sight. Jiji, however, was filled with empathy. He felt pity for the boy who, despite being confined there, had protected his family for so many years. At this point, Grandma Turbo immediately sensed trouble. She warned him not to feel any sympathy at all. It was a demon, a creature that drove people to their deaths. But Jiji stubbornly maintained that the Evil Eye wasn't like that. Even though its form had changed, he was still like them. While they argued, the earthworm discharged electricity, shocking Ayase and Jiji and leaving them numb. What's more, it spat out a disgusting, sticky, gooey orange fluid. Ayase asked Grandma Turbo where her luck had vanished, but she replied that luck doesn't just stick to one person. It was probably with the enemy now. I'm done with you, Grandma, Ayase muttered. Meanwhile, after his flashy, over-the-top move, Okaran was completely exhausted. Below, Ayase was trying to get Jiji to hold on so they could escape together. It seemed Jiji was being mentally dominated by the Evil Eye. In the illusory space, Jiji went to the boy and apologized for having feared and resented him all this time. The boy lay there faintly, saying he wished he could play like everyone else. Jiji approached, playfully saying things were different now, promising to stay by his side and play with him. At that moment, the boy smiled eerily and began to possess Jiji's body. See, Grandma told you so, but you wouldn't believe it. Grandma Turbo sighed. The earthworm continued its electric attack, sending both of them sprawling again. Seeing an easy target, the earthworm intended to feast, but a sudden burst of power erupted. Jiji surged forward and punched the earthworm, shattering its mouth, then followed up with a superb volley kick that sent its head flying. But that wasn't Jiji anymore. It was the Evil Eye after possessing Jiji's body. Grandma Turbo told Ayase to quickly brace herself. No sooner had she spoken than she was kicked to the ground. But luckily she managed to block in time. He looked at Grandma, taunting, a demon, brought to heel by humans. Ayase tried to awaken Jiji, but it was useless. Seizing the opportunity, the earthworm attacked, but the Evil Eye created a barrier to block it. Then, he condensed the resentments of the deceased in that house into a ball. He unleashed a phenomenal kick, tearing a hole through the earthworm. Not stopping there, the Evil Eye continued a relentless volley of kicks, utterly destroying the earthworm. Terrified by such overwhelming power, it burrowed into the ground and fled for its life. Ayase couldn't understand why Jiji had become like this. At this point, Grandma Turbo finally explained, "Didn't Ms. Seiko already say so? Jiji is a prodigy. He possesses a body overflowing with spiritual energy and extraordinary physical strength. Which is why the Evil Eye targeted his body for possession. But he looked like such a clumsy idiot in elementary school." Ayase wondered. Grandma said everyone has a different age for awakening their powers. Just like Ayase's own powers only recently manifested. But never mind that now. Prepare to fight. Ayase, he's not an ally anymore. Immediately, the Evil Eye kicked the ball towards Ayase. She struggled immensely but managed to block it. However, he closed in and instantly knocked Ayase away. Just as the Evil Eye was about to deliver the finishing goal shot, Okaran quickly fell back and successfully blocked the ball, saving the entire team. He coolly declared, "You dare hurt my Ayase? I'm gonna give you hell, son." After Jiji's body was taken over by the Evil Eye, Ayase and Okarun not only lost a friend but gained an enemy. A super striker, now in the zone, unleashed a cannon shot at Ayase's goal. Although Ayase brilliantly blocked the first shot, the rebound found the Evil Eye completely unmarked, ready to execute a two-tier volley to end the match. As the saying goes, heroes always arrive late, and true enough, Okarun sped back, faster than Blue Lock's Chigiri. Quickly falling back to defend, he launched a shot to counter the Evil Eye. But with only 30 minutes of soccer training under his belt, how could he possibly win against the Evil Eye? Okarun managed to block the ball, but the force sent him flying backward. The ball continued to bounce into the air, and the Evil Eye was about to deliver another blow when Okarun, quick-witted, grabbed both goalkeeper Ayase and the goal, and ran. "If I can't beat you fairly, I'll play dirty." The Evil Eye was furious. Damn those dogs. What a cheap trick, he yelled at Okarun, calling him a demon protecting a human. A useless piece of trash. Okarun was also enraged, vowing not to forgive anyone who dared harm his girlfriend. Yase. But the evil eye was too strong, he had no choice but to run. The evil eye went berserk, shooting balls relentlessly and with incredible accuracy. However, Okarun's immense speed allowed him to dodge every single one. He tried to push forward while the evil eye pursued him with continuous shots so powerful they obliterated everything in their path. Yase. Now safe, thanked Okarun, but the danger wasn't over yet. Look, it's that damn worm again, Okarun exclaimed. It's spitting out something that looks like poison. Yase didn't know what it was. But Okarun, a specialist in researching strange phenomena, knew the worm's characteristics well. That black substance was precisely the worm's venom, designed to weaken its opponents. So, it plans to burrow underground and then use its venom. Huh? It's even fighting tactically. Okarun urged them both to escape quickly or they'd be in grave danger. But escaping wasn't easy, the exit was way up high. Yase asked Okarun if the worm had any weaknesses since it kept living even after being decapitated. Okarun explained that its weakness was sunlight. These creatures were subterranean and couldn't withstand ultraviolet rays. But the real problem was how to get it out from underground. And they still had to rescue that troublemaker. Jiji. Yase felt her head spin with frustration. But then Okarun proposed a plan. He said he would try to get Yase out. And of course, she disagreed, stating that escaping alone would be meaningless. Okarun solemnly insisted that it was their only way. And there wasn't much time. He'd try to get Yase up first. And then Yase would find a rope to pull everyone else up. But Yase worried. Jiji won't listen to us now. Seeing her concern, Okarun confidently stepped forward, coolly declaring, "Leave Jiji to me." Hearing those words, Yase's heart fluttered. Wow, Okarun looks so handsome today, she thought. Yase tenderly took Okarun's hand, not to confess, but to tell him, "Jiji is counting on you." Was he annoyed? Maybe, but he powered up anyway. Okarun had Yase sit on a sofa, planning to kick her upward like a rocket. Yase was terrified, fearing both her own demise and Okarun's leg breaking. But there was no other way. On the count of 3, he launched Yase upward. But it wasn't quite enough. Yase used her powers to propel herself further, but still couldn't reach. Luckily, Yase quickly used her superpower to cling to the edge of the hole. Then pulled herself up and thankfully escaped. The plan was successful, but by now, the evil eye had caught up. "Have your fun, Okarun, you'll be the first to die," it taunted. Okarun wasn't intimidated, retorting, "Yeah, right, I'm shaking in my boots." After escaping, Yase desperately tore fabric to make a rope to pull Okarun up. But the rope was too short for the deep hole. She panicked, racking her brain for a solution. Then, the image of young Jiji flashed in Yase's mind, making her remember something. She looked for her phone to call for help but couldn't find it. So, she resorted to setting the house on fire, hoping the fire department would come to their aid. Yase watched the house burn, then frantically ran to shout for help. Very quickly, the fire department arrived. Meanwhile, below, the second half of the match between Okarun and the evil eye began. The evil eye continuously shot balls, even using his elbows, while Okarun simply used his speed to dodge. He retaliated fiercely, but it was like a mosquito bite to a rhinoceros. The evil eye continued to shoot, cornering Okarun against a wall. Okarun successfully dodged a punch, but the evil eye redirected the ball with his Rinnegan, causing it to suddenly change trajectory and hit Okarun directly in the face. The score was now 1-0 in favor of Evil Eye and White Briefs. After that, Okarun took several more blows, leaving him exhausted. The Evil Eye intended to use all his power to destroy Okarun in one final blow but discovered that Jiji's body was weakened by the worm's venom. However, if the Evil Eye just made one more decisive shot, it would be over. Although Okarun dodged, the Evil Eye transformed the ball into a house. Because the ball was created from grudges, the Evil Eye could control it fluidly. Okarun was trapped with no escape, while the Evil Eye could enter and exit at will. As soon as he entered, the Evil Eye punched Okarun, leaving him dazed. He even taunted that after he dealt with Okarun, he would capture Yase and torment her soft skin. Okarun was enraged. He grabbed the Evil Eye's face and declared that he had made 3 mistakes. First, hurting Yase. Second, defiling Jiji, because Jiji would never hurt his friends. Okarun ducked to avoid a punch and a knee from the Evil Eye. Then launched himself upward, delivering an uppercut to the Evil Eye's face. He then unleashed a rapid-fire barrage of 20 cannon shots, each barrage consisting of 20 super-fast, super-powerful punches, a total of 400 blows to the Evil Eye's mouth. even shattering the house cage. The evil eye, having taken the full force of the attack, was completely stunned. At this moment, Okarun, looking incredibly cool, declared, "Your third mistake was pissing me off." Just as he finished his cool speech, Okarun collapsed from exhaustion. Both of them lay there while the worm continued to spew venom. Though lying down, Okarun thought to himself that he couldn't die here. Ayase was still above. So, he tried to drag Jiji along. Moments later, they heard the Turbo Granny screaming from below. They thought she was in Ayase's backpack, but somehow she had fallen out and was now stuck in a pile of orange goo. Just as she thought her life was ending, Okarun quickly rushed to her rescue. Her eyes gleamed. "Oh my god, I'm saved," she thought, but her mouth was as toxic as ever. She cursed Okarun vehemently, telling him to hurry up and stop dawdling. Okarun, laying down a plank to walk on, calmly told her to relax, or if he fell into that goo, it would be over for them all. Then, Okarun tried to pull the granny out, but it was too sticky and slippery. Just as he lifted her, the plank flipped, sending him tumbling down again. As a result, he couldn't save her and they were both in trouble. Now, they could only wait for Ayase, because Okarun had used both of his transformations. Above, the fire department was trying to put out the fire. The old police officer asked Ayase if she had started the fire. She didn't deny it, but more importantly, the Kido family was trying to do evil here. However, this police officer was a subordinate of the Kido family. He assumed Ayase had a grudge against Jiji's family and had committed arson. So, the police wanted to arrest Ayase. Ayase felt the situation was dire. The sun was about to set. Ayase struggled, yelling to the firefighters to forget the house and spray the ground instead. Just then, a super strong earthquake struck, terrifying everyone, but it was just the aftershock of the giant worm rocketing upward. Seeing the worm, everyone was scared and ran in every direction. It turned out that when Ayase remembered Jiji telling her that worms breathed through their skin and would come up if the ground was soaked by rain, but then die from sunlight, Jiji called it earthworm suicide. She thought of setting the house on fire to make the firefighters spray water. Luckily, when they sprayed the house, the water also flowed down to the worm, which couldn't stand it anymore. The worm burrowed up, only to be met by the sunlight that was burning it alive. It was about to die but found the burning house to hide in. Ayase was furious. "I've been annoyed with you for so long," she screamed. She used her superpower to throw the fire truck, destroying the house and smashing it directly into the worm's face. The worm had nowhere left to hide. Under the sunlight, it was like an ice cream cone, rapidly incinerated without mercy. Its charred body lay sprawled on the ground. Ayase walked over and kicked it. "Go ahead, boast now. How dare you disrespect me?" Annoyingly, it actually moved, making her so scared she immediately ran away. And then, the worm vomited out the Kido family. Looking incredibly filthy, they were almost dead, but still yelled at Ayase. "How dare you do that to the snake god? Were they blind? It had just eaten them. And they were still so loyal." Ayase had no time for arguments and ran to rescue Okarun. But then, another strong earthquake occurred. This time, it was a volcanic eruption. The Kido family again blamed Ayase for killing the worm, causing the earthquake and volcanic eruption. The ground rumbled everywhere. Smoke and lava spewed out relentlessly. The town was constantly broadcasting evacuation notices, but people were used to it by now, quickly gathering their belongings and moving to safety, prioritizing lives over homes and possessions. At this point, the Kido family recalled the legend of a dragon flying to the heavens, creating a rainbow, and how the volcano's rage would swallow the village. Believing this, they tried to offer sacrifices, hoping the great serpent would stop the volcano. But Ayase thought, that worm would die in the sun. How's it gonna spray water and save anyone? So, she figured those legends were just made up nonsense. Ayase believed it was simply an ancient warning that the volcano would erupt, and the Kido family had twisted it to harm countless people. According to Ayase, the dragon god spraying water actually meant the ancients were predicting underground water erupting when the volcano was about to blow, like the hot spring geyser they'd just seen. To ensure these mistakes didn't keep happening, Ayase decided she'd rewrite the story. She slowly walked over, grabbed the worm's corpse, flexed her glutes, and hurled it down. Then she quickly followed. The Kido family, furious, tried to grab her. Ayase ran for her life, carrying the worm's carcass, while the Kido crowd chased after her, furious that she was desecrating their deity. Ayase dragged the worm's body to the erupting hot spring, jamming its tail into the geyser to create a massive water cannon, successfully closing the valve. After that, no one knew what Ayase was planning, but she started running towards the volcano. She thought if the volcano just swallowed the town, that snake god legend would become widely believed. To stop that absurdity, Ayase was determined to deal with the volcanic eruption herself. Ayase kept running until she reached the worm's head. It turned out she wanted to use the worm's corpse as a gigantic water pipe. As the water sprayed, the lava began to cool and solidify. Pretty smart, Ayase, but with such a huge area ablaze, it'd be tough to put it all out. Plus, the lava flowing wasn't even as scary as the forest fire it caused. Suddenly, that old keto woman appeared, landing a two-footed flying kick that sent Ayase sprawling. But you gotta admit, Ayase is tough, a kick that powerful. And she was fine. She immediately got back up and started taunting the whole Keto clan. Now that they'd lost their snake god, they'd switched to worshipping lizards and wanted to capture Ayase to sacrifice her and appease the volcano. In this dire situation, someone suddenly rushed in to save Ayase. But it wasn't Okarun, because he and Grandma Turbo were still stuck down below. It was actually the shrine's Mr. YouTuber god. He'd gotten a call from his master saying 3 kids were coming. And one was her granddaughter, asking him to look after them. He hadn't seen anyone else for days except Ayase, so he figured it had to be her. He decided he'd hold off the Keto family so Ayase could focus on putting out the fire. She was exhausted but couldn't stop. Mid-spray, Evil Eye suddenly woke up and showed up to mess things up. Kicking a ball that shattered her water pipe, Evil Eye saw the old Keto woman nearby and instantly landed a kick, tearing off her arm. Ayase, for some reason, still saved the old woman from the blow. But Evil Eye was too fast and immediately closed in. The old woman was about to be done for again, but the apprentice guy rushed in and landed a kick to Evil Eye's face. Evil Eye, furious, retaliated with a powerful kick that nearly shattered the apprentice's bones. He was about to deliver another blow, but Ayase pulled the apprentice away. Evil Eye glared at Ayase. He was determined to take her down. It would be too humiliating if she kept messing with him 5, 6, 7 times. Ayase, however, was still very caring, not wanting him to commit murder. Because if he did, Jiji would be implicated, even if he managed to regain control of his body. A moment later, she remembered her friend, Okarun. Ayase asked Evil Eye, "How did you guys fight? I don't see Okarun anywhere." She probably didn't know Okarun had punched Evil Eye unconscious on the spot. The unfortunate thing was that he and Grandma Turbo were in a tough spot, calling for help from below. Despite Ayase just saving her, the old Keto woman still blamed Ayase for all the trouble. Evil Eye then declared, "I'm so hungry, guys," and prepared to attack. Ayase sensed danger and told everyone to duck, narrowly avoiding the ball, but Evil Eye's devastating kick was closing in. Luckily, Ayase still managed to escape and even saved the old woman's life one more time. She then tried to use her superpower to grab Evil Eye so the apprentice could attack. But it had no effect. Evil Eye, controlling the ball with his Rinnegan, easily shattered Ayase's superpower. He then immediately followed up with a finishing blow to the apprentice's face. In a flash, he teleported again, aiming a kick to finish Ayase off. Ayase, at her limit and unable to use her superpower, was on the verge of collapsing. Suddenly, someone else arrived to save her, punching Evil Eye repeatedly in the face. It was Old Man Crab. He'd taken the cow before. Why was he back now? No one knew. Maybe he'd eaten the beef and came back for another one. Heh. But thankfully, the crabman saved Ayase's life. She asked him what was going on, but he just said, "Talk later, let's fight first." At that moment, a beam of light shone down from above, likely the crabman's spaceship. But then, Grandma Seiko appeared from the sky like a goddess, a cigarette in her mouth, a baseball bat in her hand, and riding a model. She looked incredibly fierce. Ayase just stared, jaw dropped, seeing her own grandma arrive. Evil Eye didn't know what to say, and Grandma Seiko felt like this would be a tough fight. But since she was already there, she jumped in, not wanting to look bad. She called her apprentice and the crabman to join the fight. They attacked in coordinated unison, making it difficult for Evil Eye to defend himself, landing a direct hit to his face with the bat. But he was unfazed and quickly counterattacked Grandma Seiko. When the moment was right, Grandma Seiko ordered Taro the model to charge in and attack. Taro gathered momentum and ran like crazy into the fight. He screamed loudly, but one punch from Evil Eye turned him into pulp. Ayase was horrified. But don't worry, her grandma had already prepared charms. The apprentice seized the moment to quickly chant a spell, while Taro began to reassemble his body with the charm, controlling Evil Eye. That was it, no more kicking balls. Grandma Seiko, cool as ever, declared, "Got him, time to go home and party." But there was still the volcano. So the little crabman flew the spaceship, spraying water to help everyone. Grandma Seiko then chewed out her apprentice for letting things get so out of hand. But he countered, saying she should praise him for reacting quickly. And besides, her call that day hadn't been very clear. Taro, meanwhile, was furious because his body was now in pieces everywhere. And putting it back together was humiliating. Grandma Seiko didn't forget the four-eyed kid and the cat, asking Ayase about them. And Ayase was already running to save them. Upon arriving, there was only rubble. Ayase couldn't use her powers. So Crabman helped by punching everything away. But when Ayase reached the bottom, all that remained was glowing red lava. Both of them were distraught, grieving for Okarun. Ayase didn't want to believe it was true. And images of Okarun flooded her mind. Ayase refused to give up, telling the little Crabman, "Pour water in here for me." But the little one refused, not wanting Ayase to be in danger. She was furious, and Crab Dad also tried to stop Ayase. But as Ayase was raging, the lava began to be pulled up by the spaceship, leaving Ayase speechless. Then the little one doused the fire with water. Ayase couldn't wait any longer and lunged, wanting to tear apart the still hot lump of lava. Unbelievably, she succeeded. Fortunately, Okarun was inside, holding the cat and still safe. He was so happy to see Ayase, telling her he believed she would come to save them. Grandma Turbo just said, "It's too hot, I'm outta here," while Ayase had tears in her eyes. Seeing Okarun safe, Okarun then explained that it was lucky he saved Grandma Turbo earlier, because the worm's fluid inside her had prevented the lava from getting in. But Okarun then remembered Jiji, whom he'd punched unconscious. Had he been cooked by the lava? Ayase said no. She didn't know how he got out, but he'd been captured. Ayase then tried to pull Okarun out. He hugged her, resting his head on her, 2 grapefruits, before he could enjoy it. Grandma Turbo frantically explained, but Ayase gently embraced Okarun. Tears streamed down her face as she apologized for promising to save him but being unable to do anything. And how truly lucky it was that Okarun was still alive. After Mrs. Seiko's special team arrived, everything finally settled down. Okarun and Jiji were saved, but Tan Nyan had taken over Jiji's body. For the time being, the Taro model will have to keep Jiji sealed, at least until Mrs. Seiko can exorcise it. The problem is that for the past few days, everyone has tried everything, but Tan Nyan remains unaffected, just cursing everyone out with its foul mouth. "You idiots, you can't do anything to me." A while later, Mrs. Seiko's house began to look more like a temple, with everyone showing up to mooch food. It was one thing for Okarun and the Crab family, who helped save Ace, but then the pink-haired hot girl Ira also showed up asking for a handout, which annoyed Ace. Ira argued, "Why didn't you invite me? I'm the leader." Seeing the crab father and son, Ira wondered why they were there. The crab dad honestly explained that the cow they brought couldn't produce milk. Plus, their planet is all water, so the cow couldn't live there and just stayed on their ship. Ace was shocked. "You breathe with lungs but live underwater? That's so weird." Okarun, however, was fascinated, realizing that the crab's entire planet was made of perfluorocarbon. The crab dad didn't know all that science stuff, but he decided to settle on Earth so his son, Chiquachita, could have regular cow's milk. Ira happily welcomed the kid to stay, but this was Ayasa's house. Dude, Mrs. Seiko and Manjiro were busy discussing how to purify Tan Nyan. They had basically run out of options and were planning to perform the Hayashi dance, but they weren't sure if it would work. Manjiro thought a weakling like Tan Nyan would be easy to handle, but Jiji's spiritual power was too strong, making it difficult to separate them. Forcibly separating them might leave Jiji with lasting aftereffects. It was a real headache. As they were talking, Taro, who was eating hot pot, suddenly jumped and yelled, "It's hot," spilling all the food, which made Mrs. Seiko angry. But the model was terrified because it couldn't see anything. Ace said, "Taro, if you're going to mooch, at least be decent." Taro quickly defended himself, saying it wasn't him. The voice continued, "Ace, is that you?" Mrs. Seiko then realized, could it be Jiji? Ace was touched to have Jiji back, but Mrs. Seiko was cautious. It would be humiliating if Tan Nyan had tricked them. She told Taro to open his face. Slowly, Taro opened up. This time, it wasn't Tan Nyan, but the goofy-looking Jiji. He cried with relief, seeing Okarun and Ace were safe. He then complimented Mrs. Seiko. "You're as beautiful as ever," which made her think it was most likely Jiji. But to be safe, she told Ace to get some ice water and splashed it on Jiji's face. Immediately, Tan Nyan appeared and threatened to mince everyone up. But when Mrs. Seiko splashed hot pot broth on him, Jiji reappeared. Hot and cold water worked like a switch between Tan Nyan and Jiji. Even though Jiji was back, Mrs. Seiko still felt like this was a huge pain. Jiji, being clueless, got hit by Ace, and Taro would have to lend his body to Jiji for a while. So he couldn't be romantic with his darling anymore. Mrs. Seiko also told Taro, "You need to cool it down. Curfew is at 10 p.m. in this house." Taro was heartbroken but had to accept his fate as a freeloader. Mrs. Seiko then apologized to the kids for not realizing Jiji had the evil eye in his house. "If I had known, I would never have let you go. What happened was my responsibility." The kids told her, "It's nothing, don't look so sad, it's not cool." Turbo Granny said, "Do you really think you can contain the evil eye? Remember, the evil eye is a mountain demon, worshipped like a god among demons. If a regular person gets possessed, they die instantly, so it needed a body with strong spiritual power like Jiji's. Luckily, this evil eye was just a baby, so they had avoided a disaster. But it would be hard to avoid later as it grew." Knowing this, everyone decided to keep a close watch on it, and Manjiro would also help. They also needed to stay within Kamakoshi City until Tanyan was purified. Because outside the city, Mrs. Seiko's barrier wouldn't be at full power. Tanyan could also force its way out at any time, so everyone had to carry hot water to splash it immediately. And finally, Jiji must absolutely avoid cold water so Tanyan wouldn't get a chance to appear. Oh boy, so this summer, Jiji would have to say goodbye to ice cream and cold drinks. Poor guy, but just hang in there until the evil spirit is cleansed. After dinner, everyone prepared to leave. They asked the Crab family where they lived, and it turned out Mrs. Seiko had gotten the dad a job at a dairy farm. The group said goodbye to the two of them. Before he left, Okarun asked for the crab's name since he never knew it. In Earth's pronunciation, his name was Penny. The next morning, Manjiro drove everyone to the hospital where Jiji's parents were being treated. Since Mrs. Seiko had moved them to this city's hospital, it only took about 10 minutes to get there. Mrs. Seiko double-checked with the kids. "Did you all bring hot water?" "Yes, Captain." Ace and Okarun sat next to each other. Their hands brushed, and he got shy. Ace then took the initiative to move her hand closer to Okarin's, making him confused about what she wanted to do. The girl's giving all the green lights, but this dude is still stuck on red. Unbelievable. As they were getting cozy, Jiji and Taro started to act up again. Luckily, they arrived, or it would have been a headache with these two. Seeing his parents again, Jiji was happy that they had recovered. The three hugged tightly, but Gigi's body was stiff because Taro was encased in it. Taro tried to coordinate his movements, but it wasn't working. The situation at the volcano was gradually stabilizing. There were no human casualties, but warnings were still in place to ensure safety. The Kido family was arrested for kidnapping and murder. However, the leader, the old hag, was still on the run, hiding deep in the forest after Tanyan broke her arm. The worm she had carefully raised for 200 years had been killed by Ayase's group, so she vowed revenge on Ayase. Then, she revealed her true form, an underground monster. For 200 years, she had been disguised as a human to commit evil deeds. Back with Ayase, they were starting school again today. Okarun asked about the situation with Tanyan. Ayase said Tanyan was starting to get used to the barrier. The situation was pretty bad. Maybe the Hayashi dance from the festival would work. In theory, they needed to make Tanyan happy and let its guard down to make it easier to separate him from Jiji. But the problem was no one would take on the Hayashi dance. Okarun thought for a moment and asked Ayase, "If Tanyan gets used to the barrier, will it escape?" "Probably, but everyone will try their best to contain it." Ayase was about to ask Okarun for something when her friends rushed over, scaring the crap out of him. The girl in the yellow shirt was determined not to let Ayase fall into a love trap or something. It was so annoying. The girl in the purple shirt was gossiping about the recent volcano news and even UFOs, which made Ayase a bit uncomfortable. She said, "I don't really want to talk about that," and then the group continued on to school. Meanwhile, Ira had arrived at class, but the atmosphere seemed a little sad. Ira was the one who used to spread bad rumors about Ayase, so she seemed to be feeling guilty now. Just then, Ayase walked by and said, "Hey, sweetie, let me borrow your face for a bit," and pulled Ira along. On the rooftop, Ira immediately started arguing with Ayase, saying she didn't want to be friendly with her in front of her class. "But if it's Okarun, then it's okay. Hee. But what's going on? Just tell me," Ira asked. Ayase didn't hide anything and said she wanted to ask them both to stay at her house. The purpose was to watch over Jiji. Mrs. Seiko and Manjiro would be watching him while they were at school. But human strength has its limits. They can't be on watch 24/7. So, with Ira and Okarun there, Ayase would feel much more at ease. The two of them were shy and pretended to be hesitant at first, saying things like, "There's no other way." But they were both dying to pack their bags and go. Ayase got annoyed and said, "Whoever doesn't want to go can leave." So they both immediately agreed. Later, as they were heading back to their classes, Ira looked sad, so Ayase told her, "You don't have to force yourself. If this causes problems with your friends, you shouldn't do it." But Ira said, "It has nothing to do with you. Don't get involved. It's my fault anyway." That afternoon, Taro's arm was suddenly blasted off by Tanyan's power. Mrs. Seiko said this was bound to happen sooner or later and told Taro to separate. From now on, Jiji won't have Taro's protection. So be more careful with water and always use hot water. Just then, Ace and Okarun came home, and Jiji was as cheerful as ever. But behind them, Ira showed up for an exorcism session looking like she was ready for a fashion show. She'll definitely get bruised up soon. Hee. But no matter what you do, always carry hot water with you. And be careful not to waste my food. Later, during dinner, everyone seemed to be getting along better. The two guys were playing video games, and the two girls were gushing over the expensive makeup Ira brought. Only Turbo Granny kept asking Ace, "Where's my cushion?" Ace said, "I don't know. Why do you keep asking? You old cat?" Mrs. Seiko told Okarun to pass her the soy sauce bottle. As Okarun handed it to her, a drop of water fell. But luckily, it didn't touch Gigi's hand. But that was fish sauce. So Okarun handed her a different bottle. But this time, he wasn't so lucky. A drop of soy sauce accidentally fell on Gigi's hand. And that was it. Ta Nyan returned in full force, completely trashing Mrs. Seiko's house.